It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Yeah, what we fighting for here on Declare Your Independence of me, Ernest Hancock. How about some truth, justice, and what used to be the American way? You know, we'll ask Captain America that. You know, Matt Bruce, he's a nationally syndicated radio talk show host that also has a show on Troop Talk that goes to the troops in the Middle East. And I'm just, when you say the American way, you got a movie coming out, you know, it's going to, you know, popularize. I bet you're getting a lot of searches going on Google to you now. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I am, but the movie doesn't come out till next year, and it's going to come out during the election.
Really? Is it that long? I'm already seeing, you know, oh, no, that's Thor. That's part of the Avenger thing. Yeah, Captain's America, that's, yeah, it might be a while. Well, that'll be, yeah, right during the election. All psyops, man, all psyops. You know, it's like, you know, Marvel Comics, when they did it was a coloring book they did with Spider-Man when that was popular, supporting the United Nations and their defense against violence and disease. And they were going to expand that. Millions of kids are going to get this. It's all popularizing the United Nations and the Avengers kind of working on their international global peacekeeping, blah, blah, blah. And I remember Captain America was part of it was a comic that was in support of World War II. Captain America goes out and kicks Nazi butt. And I remember this. And then he became against the Vietnam protesters in the 60s. And now it's time to get us all back on the collective again. And I'm going, wow, man, this is... So that's why when I have someone in your position in support of, you know, the troops and so on, the Captain's America there at CENTCOM, I'm going, man, it just kind of interweaves into this. You can understand my perspective on that, I hope.
Sure, absolutely. So
tell us about... before we go into some of the other stuff I want to talk about, you know, some of the things that we shared over the break. But CENTCOM, I remember talking to you before that you live really close to that, and you've had access before and get to see these operations live.
I have been to CENTCOM. I've been there, been fortunate enough to interview David Petraeus at the facility. I haven't interviewed Admiral Mullen yet, but I have interviewed some of the subordinates below him. Members of his staff, but I've been there to the operations center. But the thing about them is, do you remember when we heard the United Nations was going to have a vote on Friday afternoon about this resolution?
I don't, you know, they're going to do what they're going to do. Yeah.
Okay, a couple of weeks ago. Well, it just so happens I was driving up over the Sunshine Skyway Bridge headed to Tampa, and I noticed these C-17 Galaxies taking off. There was 4 of them in a row, and they made a hard right turn and went to the east. And I was about 30 minutes away from my destination, so as I got up towards the Howard Franklin Bridge, which is almost directly across from the MacDill Air Force Base in CENTCOM, there were 4 jet tankers that took off, made a hard right turn and turned to go east. And I said, okay.
They're going to the Middle East.
Nobody had to tell me what else was going to happen that weekend.
Yeah, this is, you know, to think, you know, it's like dealing with legislation. You go talk to legislators, and, we're going to have hearings and public input and blah, blah, blah. BS. They already made up their mind long time ago.
Sure.
You know, it's all for public consumption of just kind of pretend like you get to have something to say about it. And then we have, you know, Reuters today is reporting, we have on top of Freedoms with an S, freedomsphoenix.com, no UN mandate to attack Gaddafi forces, it says Russia. Russia said on Monday attacks on forces loyal to Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi amounted to intervention in a civil war and were not backed by the UN resolution authorizing no-fly zones. So what happened is they go in all force necessary or something thing, kind of goes up against this, are we doing the regime change back and forth, ouch, quit it, and the second the button got pushed to send the first cruise missile, you knew we were fully engaged and this was going to eventually become a ground war. Now, if they start pulling people out of Iraq and Afghanistan, do you anticipate that they're going to be sent to Libya?
I most certainly do, because there's no way that you cannot have boots on the ground to supply the rebels. They have to have logistics back to the eastern part of where the front is. They're going to have planes landing and taking off. You can't just do that with the rebels that are there. You have to have ground logistical forces at least there. They're going to have their weapons with them. They're certainly not going to be unarmed. And oh, by the way, when the military hospitals get put up for the hospitals that have been destroyed, there's going to be military people there as well as the security contingent that follows them along. So that's boots on the ground.
Okay, I got to ask you this. We have the people that were responsible behind the scenes for Iraq, Afghanistan, what's going on in Pakistan, Yemen. I mean, it's just, and do you think from the Bush administration to the Obama administration, those people changed somehow? It's different? Somebody else is running the show, or is it the same?
No, they have not changed. It is the same people for the most part, 90%. You are watching the Obama doctrine, a continuation of the Bush doctrine, and there is no doubt about it. Make no mistake.
Well, I thought you were in support of the Bush doctrine, so you're in support of the Obama doctrine, or what? What's your hope?
I'm in support of what we were supposed to have to begin with, Ernest, and that was clear and open discussions and things that were going on, and we're not getting that. This president has been the most clandestine of any president that I can remember. And oh, by the way, in case you haven't noticed, what part of hope and change isn't working for you is people are really feeling the effects of gasoline at $3.55 a gallon, much worse than they did 3-4 years ago when the price went that high, because everybody's property values have dropped, and those people that are working may be getting less money now than they did then.
There's so many.
We got to get rid of this guy, Ernest. I'm being perfectly honest about it.
And replace him with what? I mean, we went from Bush to him, and I'm like, you're talking to a hardcore anarcho-capitalist libertarian pox on all your houses. I mean, you know, and the difference has been what? And you're going to replace him with whom?
Well, let me tell you who I spoke to today. Wayne Allen Root was the Libertarian vice presidential candidate in 2008. I know Wayne. Wayne is a hardcore conservative libertarian businessman. He's run a business. He's generated over $20 million in income, hired and fired thousands of people. I'm very impressed with that individual. There's a name that comes to mind right off the bat. It's going to take somebody out of the ordinary to get us back on our extraordinary track that America was founded on.
You know, I know Wayne well. He and I traveled the country together and running for, you know, a national chair and so on, a Libertarian Party. We know each other. And while I like him and his family personally, he kind of throws that libertarian thing around a little bit more than he's due.
Yeah, well, we call him Mr. Libertarian for a reason.
I'm sure the conservatives do. But, you know, from our perspective, you know, inside in the libertarian thing, we're like, yeah, you know, because he really emphasizes his initials, Wayne Allen Root, war. And we're like, love, not war, you know. So it's kind of, while I understand the sentiment, and it's certainly good to have some libertarian rhetoric out there, you know, we're not necessarily, because he's a little bit more, you know, neocon a little bit when it comes to our interventions in the Middle East. And we can talk about this more when we come back, but I want the end game. Is there some way, we'll get from you, Matt, when we come back, Matt Bruce, thecaptainsamerica.com, how we're going to extricate ourselves from the Middle East. Can we? Should we? Will we? Will we have to? We'll be right back.